This is Uinta 1's 2018 facility plan meeting with the School Facilities Division of the State Construction Department, and we'll introduce ourselves first.
Good afternoon, Brandon Finney, Planning and Finance.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Troy Decker, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Good afternoon. We are Uinta 1, and sitting at the table is myself, John Davis, Jody Long, Sam Ring, Julie Cook, Austin Moore, and Jaron Dennis.
Okay. Did we miss anybody here? Did you say Joe is also there?
Joe is here.
Okay, great. So everybody here that you see is there. All right.
Everybody but Ryan Thomas is not.
Oh, okay. All right. Is Ryan going to join us later on, or is he unavailable?
He's in another meeting right now.
Whoops.
I would say no.
No, he's not available? Okay. Okay, and on our side then, Lance, I don't think is going to be able to join us. And Paul Severson isn't able to join us, so there's the four of us. All right. Well, that sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our camera now, and we'll just go right on through this. The preparation of this has changed in the last several years. We've really done a lot of work on the front end of it, so that when we get together with your 6 people and our 4 people, we've got 10 people here, we really try to concentrate on the things that need to be discussed about, and the details of the database and confirmations and stuff goes a lot quicker here. In the olden days, we actually used to go into the database and go through every single property profile, and our meetings literally took hours. So I think you'll find this pretty productive. We did this as well, I think, last year, and I think it goes well. So don't feel like you have to reply on any portion, because that's what the pre-meetings are for before we come into this meeting. So with that, I'll go on, and you guys jump in whenever you feel like you need to. So with regard to block grant payments, one of the things that is key is us to make sure the acreages are accurate. Charlie has done just a fantastic job working with districts, GIS sites to do that. So you guys confirm that these are as accurate as possible, and so do we. So that will obviously, in the block grant, it's your groundskeepers that are paid based on acreage, and so we have those captured. As for property profiles, we share a lot of data with WDE, and they use our actual database information per property as part of their block grant calculations as well. The gross square footage, the last column here, is really important, and along with that is the allowable. So we have allowable square footage. WDE sends to us the ADM, and then we plug in the ADM into our calculator, square foot calculator, and it produces an allowable, and that allowable then generates X number of dollars for major maintenance. So these are very important property profiles, and we keep those up to date on a yearly basis, and we find that we have to do it on a yearly basis. So I think we're good there. No leases, anything like that, no enhancements. Okay, so Brandon, we have a couple projects here. 1156 Evanston Middle School. So state law requires us to review these on an annual basis, make sure that we return back to the state any leftover monies. But I saw your comments on the middle school, and also I talked to Lance this morning, and you have multiple issues that still need to be addressed. Concrete testing, roof, etc. at the middle school, so we're going to review that one next year. And that, all right. And that complies with your comment as well. And then the roof replacement, it's complete and no funds are to revert, so we're good with that one as well. Those are the only 2 capital projects you have. Are we good? Got it? Okay.
All right.
Security, this is a very important topic, and seems like every day in the news gets more and more important. And so Lance usually goes through a history of this. Basically, the bottom line is that you guys, we have the legislature signed into bills by the governor, has allowed up to these 8 security elements. They have been funded. And we have gone back, and even this year we wanted to pursue some more security funding. And the legislature specifically had concerns about how much money is being spent. And of the, how much was it, 9 million guys so far? 9 million that we have received through appropriations, that a lot of that money wasn't spent. So they did not make any recommendations for further security funding. However, one of the things we want to make sure you guys know is, and I did talk to Lance here, and it sounds to me like you guys using Plan 1, you're well on your way to addressing security needs here. This was ran in December, and you guys at that point hadn't spent any money. But my understanding from your notes and talking to Lance that you guys are well on your way to addressing a lot of security needs with this money. Is that correct?
That is correct, with the knowledge that we can, a one-time only, rearrange some of the numbers or some of the columns. Because we, like I say, we're not going to need 170,000 worth of two-way radios. We can use that somewhere else. And I believe we can do that, or at least that's what I've been told.
Yeah, that is correct. The trick is, when you move the money, and since it's a one-time thing, make sure that when you do move it, you're fully aware of what those costs are and make sure that you cover your needs. So that is correct. The other important thing here, and you probably may or may not know this, but there was a 10% security payment in the last biennium, and it was basically part of your major maintenance calculation. It just carved out 10% for security funding, and the definition for this, the security payment, was it could be used for anything related to security, and it doesn't have to necessarily qualify for the major maintenance definition. So, for instance, I always use the example of you want walkie-talkies and fluorescent vests for playground monitors, during recess or something like that. Well, those don't qualify for major maintenance, but the definition of this within that bill does allow any type of security funding projects to be paid out from this. The other thing, and I don't think I put it in here, Brandon, but the other thing is in the present bill, and I can't remember which one that is.
I want to say House Bill 1.
Okay. They also approved another allotment of 10% with regard to cutting out of your next major maintenance payment. So you'll get another 10% for security to spend on security needs as well in the next major maintenance payment.
And when would we see that then? In July or?
Yeah, this is Brandon. You'll see it broken up into a couple different payments. The way the major maintenance payment is done is going to be different for this biennium. So 75% of the payment comes out in July, and the last 25% comes out in September. So you'll see that coming through those two checks that you'll receive.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So again, it's not in addition to your major maintenance payment, it's just a carve out thereof. So,
Yeah,
you can see my screen okay, right?
I can.
Okay, wonderful. Capacity, Charlie.
Absolutely. So per our SFT methodology, we go through every building every year and make sure that we update all the location spaces for your buildings. So basically right now, looking at the capacity, and so one of the things we wanted to answer in this section is we take teaching stations only. So for example, we do your classrooms, your CTE labs, your PE spaces, but we don't do hallways, entrances, or anything like that. So it really doesn't have anything to do with that. So basically what happens is that each teaching station drives an amount of students in that room per square footage per student guidelines that we have. And so, for example, your overall capacity at Davis Middle School is 564 students. Right now, currently, overall in your district, looks like you have enough space for everything that you need to do at this point. And then, as well, we also break out the elementaries. for your district because you have multiple. And then we just do an overall district total at that point.
We always like to look at the enrollments per year that are sent over by WDE. Unfortunately for you, and you're very aware of this, you dropped below the 200 mark for the first time in the last 20 years. And we know that that equals, the latest actual number is 16,000 per student in most districts. So we recognize that's a heavy financial burden on districts if you're losing students. Your average enrollment over the last 10 years, and our enrollment methodology actually takes it 10 years in the past and then projects out. And they're just projections. This is a mathematical projection based on known data with regard to your enrollment. But your average kindergarten class has been 239. You're obviously well below that, 40-some students. So we know that that's tough. But for us on facilities management side, we know that you have enough room to handle growth, and all of us, of course, along with you, are hoping for this thing to plane down and not continue to go down, and hopefully even gain in the future at some point. Talk about your economics just a little bit. Was this just a?
There are none.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty pathetic, and I'm sorry, but that chart that you're showing, that's going to get worse next year. There is really zero going on in this community, and there is no effort going forward to try to draw anybody in or to try to help the city, the county, or anything. It is really, I hate to say the word pathetic, but it's bad. With that, we're trying to get contractors just to do stuff around for our district on routine maintenance, and we can't get anybody to do stuff.
Interesting.
I wish I could say something that would make it cheery and nice, but that's just the fact. It's bad over here. And you can tell by the chart because we're losing kids every year.
Looking at your kindergarten, did you have a question, Brendan?
Oh, well, I was just wondering, are those contractors leaving to go chase work other places? Where economies are rolling or something?
Well, the contractors, there's only, say there's used to be 10, now there's 2.
Okay.
And so they're just doing whatever they want to and whenever they want to.
Yeah.
Now we have this really neat project coming up with Plan 1 on security vestibules in 3 of our buildings. And our biggest headache right now is going to be who's going to do that work, Hopefully they'll find somebody in the Wasatch Front, which is the Salt Lake area, and they'll be able to come up and do the job. But locally, there is just, we wouldn't get anybody to do that.
It looks like potentially from your kindergarten to first grade, these right here are survival rates. So as you follow these through, like this is 2016 kindergarten. Next year they have 216. Next year, which is this year, they had 206. You lost 10 students. So as you follow a class down, it goes kindergarten first, second, third, fourth, and so on. And so over here kind of measures those survival rates over the 10 years of trailing data and gives an average. And your average survival rate from kindergarten to first grade is 95%. Whenever we see that one, it's usually because you may have kindergartners that don't necessarily leave the school system. They aren't maybe perhaps developmentally ready to go to first grade, and so you may have a special one more year for them on the front end of their education before advancing to first grade. Is that a fair statement for your district?
Certainly.
Okay. And then as you go down, you guys are getting attrition each year. On average, your second grade is only 96%, so on. Right here, I don't know what that is. Is that sixth grade? Now, in sixth grade, you guys actually have a 101. You actually gain 1% from fifth to sixth on average, and then it kind of is in the 90s there. And then this is across the state, but starting in your sophomore, junior, and senior years, you guys have quite a bit drop off. Your sophomore and junior years particularly. And then you have some come back in apparently on that senior year. So,
Is that pretty much normal? I mean, I know those numbers aren't normal, but across the state, is that pretty much normal when the kids get into the junior and senior years, they drop out?
Yeah, we've seen that trend across the state where that's a pretty normal trend. Sophomore, junior years are really rough around the whole state.
Okay.
yeah, I think you're good. The only other one we probably make, a lot of times, there's actually, these are pretty close. Your second grade, that 96%, that's kind of rare in the state. But other than that one, everything else looks pretty close to what it would normally do across the state for each of your grade levels.
So just so you know, we recently did our pre-registration for kindergarten about a month ago, and right now our numbers look like 220 for next year, which is up, which is good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yep.
That is very good.
Well, wonderful. Keep those babies coming, huh?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Well, nothing real revelatory here. This is stuff that you guys deal with on a daily basis, and I hope all those 200 and some students and even more show up. That would be great.
Would be.
Statewide list.
Absolutely. So every year we categorize or we prioritize our capacity needs by three categories: high, which is above 100% of capacity; medium and low per our 2013-20 policy for the SFC. And so this is just the capacity needs for this year based off of October 2nd enrollments. So right now you can look at there, see Afton and Osmond, number one right now in the state, and then Rock Springs. Currently doing a planning study in Rock Springs right now, and then looking at what the intermediate options are for them. So this is more for your information, but just kind of gives you an idea where we're at in the state in terms of capacity.
Okay. So major maintenance calculations, allowable square footage.
Oh, yeah, get to go in, right?
Yep.
So no, there's a couple things here. One of the things when we get asked a lot every year is how your major maintenance payment is calculated. And so this is more for an illustration of that. So we use the ADM that is reported by WDE. That one's from 1516 ADM, and then that generates an allowable square footage, which helps us calculate how much major maintenance payment you get. So there's a couple things that stand out right now on the page. I appreciate your comments down here about where you're at. So before the SFC, there were bonds that were passed, and so buildings were sized to incorporate future growth at that point in time, and so you have that. And then after the SFC, we sized it for 5 years past substantial completion, so there is, again, some excess square footage on that. But the biggest thing that we'll talk about right now is that you're just not getting paid enough for that square footage. You're only getting paid for 495,000 square feet when you have 772,000 square feet. And so for us, one of the things we tried to do this past summer is we tried to go through and we did a major maintenance study, and we tried to raise all the factors in order to be able to raise that major maintenance payment substantially, almost double it in fact. Unfortunately, most of the work that we had put in did not get through, with the exception of one item, which was the 7-year phase-in and getting rid of that. But unfortunately, at this point, that's the only thing that survived out of all the efforts.
So we'll continue to work, I think, we have a desire to help districts meet their needs, and obviously there is excess square footage. This wasn't something to pressure any district into anything. We're just acknowledging, like in your district, we're looking at a 277 square feet that are not being funded with major maintenance. So your major maintenance is being thinned out as you go. So we acknowledge that, and we're looking for opportunities, maybe at least to give data to the legislature to consider maybe increasing major maintenance payments in the future. Don't know how that's going to work or look in the future, but we've made a good run this last year on that. So I'm assuming there is nothing. I'm going to click no here, that you guys you're not going to take students. I know one of your neighbors or close to your neighbors, like Green River, they're taking a school, an elementary school, basically closing it down and putting the students in the remaining elementary schools. But right now, you guys are just going to continue on with what you're doing, and there's no real active thoughts right now, I think, from the district, at least in this facility, plan to do anything other than that.
That's correct.
What's funny is though that most of our buildings, they don't have any room for what they want to do because of the different programs and way they do things compared to say 20 to 30 years ago. And even though we do have a lot of extra square footage, every building is screaming for extra space, you know. And it's just the way it is right now.
Yeah, we consistently hear that across the state. I don't care if a school district has a building that's 30% full. They still would desire more space to do more things within their curriculum.
Right. That's happening here.
Charter schools, there is no charter school. You do have the Horizon Alternative School, 60 students.
That is
Now,
correct.
and let me understand this. So your high school that is housed within our central kitchen, print shop?
They have,
Oh,
So it's
with,
the-
okay, I got it.
right, with, that is, it's the old, was it
Uinta?
Uinta building?
Yeah,
That is correct.
yeah.
Mida building, right?
Yep.
Bought it, did a renovation.
Bought it, did a renovation, and then, you have your central kitchen, print shop, and then main computer servers out of that
Where is
building.
that?
So it is.
So it's alt school
Horizon Alt
and
School, go right by
those
high school.
functions?
Go left, down. Okay, down. Scrolling. There you are, right there. It's not too far from high school.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now. That's right. That's a pretty nice building, isn't it?
It is.
It worked out really well. Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
So you have your alt school in there and those other business functions of the district.
Right. We have central kitchen. We also run a print shop, and then our main servers are housed there.
Okay.
All righty. So condition-wise, districts, we have about, according to the superintendents we talked to, there's about, and I would say it's pretty accurate, about a 25% changeover in superintendents per year across the state. Business managers are usually more stable, stay longer, don't have quite the changeover. Facilities managers change over on a regular basis as well. So every building that has a life cycle, and that when we have changeover, and I might add that someone pointed this out the other day, that our office, the state construction department, has changeover on a regular basis as well. So we always try to help. You guys may be very experienced at facilities management, but we try to keep the fact that preventive maintenance, routine maintenance, obviously is very important for the lifespan of a building. As those buildings mature and go through their life cycle, major maintenance is a very important part of the funding sources to keep that building going and make it appropriate for education and safety and health and those things. And then as a building ages, nearing around the 0.65 FCI score, which is a facility condition index score, which the FCI score actually reflects the amount of deferred maintenance from a monetary point of view. That's when the state starts looking at remedies, either renovations or replacements. So this is when major capital monies become available, and they're prioritized. Those requests are prioritized across the state on an equitable basis. And so in your district, as we go down here, and before we get to your district, this is just page one of many pages of our FCI index list, and it has the highest scoring building, which is has the most deferred maintenance, down to the lowest, about 450 plus buildings that we look at. And everything on here is a 0.4 and above is basically is being addressed one way or the other, either in a planning study, a future planning study, design or construction in some way, shape, or money through this last budget. So we're really happy that the legislature has provided money for 0.4s and above for the majority of these. And then when it gets down to the 0.3s and so on, that's where the rest of the districts are. You guys, as we look at your buildings, your worst scoring building here in this list is a 0.22. You have the bottom line is you have excellent buildings from a condition point of view. In the past, we've had districts ask, is there a correlation between age of a building and condition of a building? Yes and no. It matters how the building, how it was constructed to begin with, the materials, the quality of that construction. It matters how you've done your routine and preventive maintenance, and it matters what kind of major maintenance you put into it, as well as any infusion of capital funds. So you guys have just excellent buildings from a statewide perspective. Even in your support ancillary buildings, you guys are looking really good. Any comments on that?
No.
Okay. Major maintenance, we really appreciate the fact that, obviously, you're required to do a 680 balance information sheet or a 680 form, and all it is a reconciliation of your major maintenance expenditures to your major maintenance balance. And so, obviously, with all state monies comes accountability in some way, shape, or form. We just took last year's priorities, and this is just an example of what last year's priorities were with regard to your district, and we respect that. Here's a numerical breakdown of that. And then down here is just a system-by-system breakdown per building with regard to those major maintenance priorities as of last year. And then you guys don't have a lot of them, but you do have some 2 scores. The condition assessment that we do is has a very specific scoring matrix, and each system is scored from a 1 to a 5. 5 being excellent, 4 being good, 3 being fair, 2 is poor, and 1 is failure. So you do obviously have some poor scores here. You're aware of these, and I was looking at your major maintenance balance. You guys are projecting out when you're going to do those. You're putting major maintenance toward them. It doesn't look like you're ignoring anything, which is always good. Major maintenance wise, looking at your encumbrances, this is as of March 22nd. Your funds basically will be, including encumbrances, about $2 million. If you end up getting what we anticipate is probably around this dollar amount for a major maintenance payment of $1.8 million, you guys are going to have about a $3.8 million balance once the high payment hits you. So you're looking pretty good, I would say, on your major maintenance. Every year, I'm going to stop talking here in just a second and let you talk. Every year we do have you clean up your work orders and AIM. If you've reported through the 680 all payments on a project, we ask you to close it. Otherwise, you have work in progress or open ones that are newer. And so you guys just keep those in there and then apply major maintenance expenditures against those. You have quite a few you can see. So with that, I'm going to slow down here just for a second and let you talk. We've been asking each district to go through this. What process do you take to prioritize your major maintenance? Do you have committees? Who's involved? Stakeholders? You don't have to go a lot of detail, but does it go across your board? Tell us a little bit about your major maintenance prioritization.
First of all, if I can, I want to get a shout out to Amber. She was really, really helpful to us in trying to put this together because I'd never done it before and I had never been allowed to see how it was done. So it's all a new learning thing for me. And she had to really struggle and she was really good helping me get along. And it was kind of frustrating. But after it was all done, it's starting to, I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel is what you guys really want and how you want it. And we're going to be able, even next year, to even prepare it better. I'm involving a lot more personnel in this situation than previously. So we got a good look at it. Starting with, when they come in and they assess the buildings, when you guys come in and do that kind of starts us off with what we need to do. Plus, we have monthly meetings with the administration team that we actually ask them what, they would like to see done, what needs to be done. We get some input from the community, not a lot about, what they'd like to see us do, but I just don't think they realize how the process works or would know anything about, how we go about doing some stuff with our major maintenance funds. We need to take a look at some of those lower scores because one of them was windows, and we're really struggling with trying to figure out how they came up with that because the windows are fine, they're not broken, they seem to work. So
Yeah, sometimes going back to those windows, scores can also be based. The windows they're on an average lifespan or expectancy for
maybe
the
that's it.
windows, and I think that they base part of the criteria is based on age as well. So you guys,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So I would say that I mean we're not going to tell you, hey, you got exterior windows and they have to be replaced. What we would say is yes, based on an average lifespan, they scored it a 2 perhaps. And of course, you probably know there's notes there too. Did you read your surveyor notes?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me take you there for just a second, and let me show you. And this is in. I'm going to go into AIM for just a second. Well, maybe Amber isn't. I mean, I was thinking she was like 100% awesome.
She didn't help you with this?
Now she's only at 99.9% awesome.
Oh, my.
This is what you're off playing around in San Diego.
So in your facility plan, when you get in there, help me find it, guys.
No,
Low condition scores.
that's the instructions. Go up to the second from the top.
Okay, so your second down from the top is low condition scores, and we actually put Amber has now redeemed herself by pointing out which document.
Man.
And within that, it's actually a spreadsheet. And what you can do is when you go in there, you can actually kind of highlight this. Let's see if my version will allow that. No, well, I thought I did. So you can actually see within here, they put notes. So they'll say, for instance, you're talking about the windows necessarily. You're going, hey, it might be a 2, but the fact is that we believe that they have a lot of years left in them. And then they said right here, aluminum clad wood frame windows still functioning well, but near end of expected useful life. Rated 2 based on, and for some reason my computer's not allowing me to finish that. And if you go in there and actually, here, I'll just do this real quick. Maybe. It's not letting me do anything there. It actually, if you follow that through, it rated a 2 based on whatever, and for some reason I'm having difficulties with my Excel. It actually will follow through on that.
Use your 2 arrows here,
Gotcha.
and it'll
Thank you.
expand it down.
There you go.
Based on age and observed condition. There you go. So anyway, as you work through these, there is a notes column, and it does help you identify why they scored. And the reason was, just like I told you, they base it on age. And so, you know, in your facility plan next year, instead of, I mean, if it's, and he said, they're functioning just fine, you may want to go over here in district notes, you may want to put something like, you know, Windows still functioning well, will replace in the future as needed or something like that.
Okay. But maybe we got a little bit off track there. I wanted you to really know that we appreciate what Amber has done with us.
We got off track? What?
Well, that's what one of my secretaries was poking me about. She didn't think you understood that I was trying to compliment Amber with the way she helped us.
Well, we knew exactly what you were doing, and we think she's wonderful.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
because we have such a wonderful relationship with her, we can have it. You know, there's very few weaknesses that she has. So we try to take advantage of anything we can just to tease her a little bit.
I appreciate the compliment. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Let me make sure. I'm just going back. I kind of lost your document here. I'm hoping to lose other things. Make sure we're good. I don't know if any of
So I just want to double check, you know, when we talk about these windows, it's a great example. As long as we have those in our district notes and recognize that when they come to do those scores again, it's not going to be one of those gotchas. Hey, we told you to fix these, and we're like, yeah, we're fixing them as they have issues, not just to fix them just to fix them. Is that still okay?
We respect that. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like anything, it's a tool. And that tool tells a portion of the picture, not perhaps the whole picture. And we, if you guys put down, hey, they're still functioning great, we'll monitor them for the future, and that's all you do, we respect that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if it was truly like a life safety issue or something like that, definitely something to get on. But we're like, hey, if we can use our major maintenance dollars in a different way, that would be even better. So,
okay. I'll just say district involves various stakeholders in prioritizing major maintenance projects. Is that okay?
sounds good.
Okay. Do you run that by the school board? Does your school board actually make the final decision or blessing of your major maintenance priorities?
It's mostly a blessing type situation.
Okay.
We're always aware of it. Anytime we've got a big project and just letting them know, hey, this is what's going on. Anything over $10,000, we have to approve through the board, and we just say these are being used with major maintenance dollars, not general funds, and just so that they're aware. And
Sure.
it helps them when they're in the community and they're saying, hey, teachers aren't getting paid, but you're putting hundreds of $1,000s into this. They can say, well, it comes from two different funding sources.
Yeah. Yeah, in my facilities management background, I had to deal with that, teachers. Yeah, it's part of education and helping people understand.
Yeah.
The other thing, and you guys are well aware of this, we do have component projects, and this last year, the governor approved $21 million worth of component projects across state, really helped districts a lot. And this year we asked for $10.5 million and these first $10.5 million were approved. So usually things like roofs and HVAC are really high on the list, but this is, you guys probably know this, it's made up of a committee of 12 district members and some way, shape, or form across states. So just remember, if you get up in those, I was looking there above, let's just kind of talk about that for just a second. When you get up in there, when you've got millions upon millions, like ceiling finishes, 1.5 million, domestic water distribution, 1.2, whatever. I mean, it's your choice, but just know that there are other funds to supplement major maintenance as well. And it's really, you're competing with other districts for those recommendations. And the priority list is put together and then presented to the commission. 17, we had actually 37 requests last year. 17 through 37 were not forwarded by the commission to the select committee as recommendations. So those were not considered by the select committee to advance to the Joint Appropriations Committee.
That's really helpful to know. And Amber was really good about helping us see that. Like you said, you look at that water distribution and stuff. That'll probably be some stuff that you're going to see from our school district coming through as a request.
Yep, that's understandable. Lance is just a fantastic resource in working with on these component projects, and they're due about the middle of September, and so it takes time. You can use major maintenance to actually plan and help cost estimate. You can hire a consultant or an architect or something or an engineer to help you do that. So you don't have to design it, but just get an accurate estimate and budget. We do have a budget sheet. Did you guys attend our component project webinar earlier this year?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So you know what's going on, and Charlie's a great resource as well as Lance if you need any more help on that. Legislative session, Brandon.
So House Enrolled Act 18, that was what Charlie was mentioning about the major maintenance. We did the study, presented to the Legislative Select Committee of School Facilities, and it did not get promoted. Through the whole process, though, the only thing that did survive was a 7-year phase-in, so you'll see an increase. You guys have a new school that just opened, right? The middle school?
We just did a renovation of a middle school.
Okay. I don't know how that'll actually get dated and stuff, but you'll see a little bit of an increase in your major maintenance though, because the RS means number went up. overall, we were gonna change
Good.
RS means, which is, and the CRV, which is the current replacement value. Unfortunately, all that died, as Charlie said earlier. Also enrolled Act 17, that was on the square footage on major maintenance. So I mentioned a minute ago how the payment will change. So you'll get 2 payments per year, and the intent there is to have it more reconciled, utilizing the most current data from WDE and also the latest and greatest square footage out of this facility plan. Also, it talked about emergency funding, how it can be used. It also says that we can use it on the site as well as the building. And who determines CMER deliveries or an alternative delivery method is now determined at the commission level. And it also requires approval of disposed buildings. So if a district wanted to liquidate a building, it would come through us and we'd have to take it to the commission for a final decision. And mainly, if you got a massive growing capacity and then all of a sudden you're getting rid of buildings, the question may be raised of, should you really be getting rid of the building? Or you have a building that's in great shape and you want to get rid of it, should you be getting rid of it? So, House Enrolled Act 5, it created another division. So we have the State Construction Department, and within it we have school facilities, construction management, and then operations. So all of us that are working on both sides of the house, we're in the operations. We do finance, planning, and all project managers are in that operations side so that the director can put the key resources on each side as he sees fit. And then our current budget, I didn't see anything that you guys had in there as far as components or capital.
So we were pleasantly surprised. The commission asked for over $200 million of capital and major maintenance funding and received more than actually we even asked for. So
Yeah.
That was a surprise to us. Supplemental budget?
In the supplemental, which is what we're preparing for now, it says that we can go for any emergencies or unanticipated needs if you had a really big project and maybe hit some bad soils or something came up that was unforeseen. Your guys' facilities in the way they are in your capacity, I don't really see any requests that we'd submit to the legislature, but do you guys see anything on your side that we're missing?
We've kicked that around quite a bit, and we're still pretty comfortable with where we're at with that right now. So
Okay.
just as I say that, we'll probably have a building collapse on us here tonight or something. But
Well, if you ever do have a true emergency, there is funds that's held in the school facilities commission account to address, a complete roof getting ripped off or something,
right.
like happening.
All right, so this is the last part of our facility plan meeting, just unique issues, ideas, and concerns. Is there something that we haven't talked about that the district would like to talk about prior to closing the meeting?
I guess I would just like to commend you guys. This process has been a new process for both John and I, but we used to feel like you hear from the SFD or the SFC at the time that, it's kind of doom and gloom. And I appreciate your optimism and looking at different opportunities, pushing hard with our legislators to understand, as we talk about buildings that were bonded in the 80s. And how that affects our square footage. So I really appreciate the work that you guys have done as a department and being that help to us as districts and that support. And really, I felt that this year.
All right, staff, anything?
I don't. Nice talking to you guys though today.
Likewise.
Okay, well, thanks. With that, I'll go ahead and end the meeting, and thanks, and we hopefully can see you in person sometime in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks, you guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, give me your note.